The message came on a quiet Tuesday morning. At first, the radio operators at Earth's Deep Space Listening Station thought it was a mistake. The signal was too clear, too strong, and definitely not human in origin. Within hours, every screen on Earth lit up with the same image: a stern-faced alien figure, gray-skinned and dressed in ornate military armor. The creature's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as it began to speak, its words automatically translated by Earth's AI systems. To the primitive species of Sol 3, designated humans, I am High Commander Rex of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. Your existence has been noted. Your technology has reached sufficient levels to warrant attention. You will surrender your world to Imperial rule within 48 Earth hours, or face immediate destruction. Admiral James Walker stood in Luna Command's Central Operations Room, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display of Earth's defense fleet. 300 ships. That was all humanity had to defend itself. Reports from the long-range sensors showed the Imperial fleet numbered in the thousands. "Play that last part again," he ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. The room fell silent as the alien's words echoed once more. "Sir," Lieutenant Rogers spoke up from his station, "we're detecting energy signatures at the edge of our solar system. They're massive." Walker nodded, his mind already racing through possibilities. Earth had known this day might come, but not so soon. Not like this. "Get me the Joint Defense Council," he commanded. "And someone wake up Dr. Wright at Quantum Labs. We need every advantage we can get." The next 6 hours passed in a blur of activity. Reports flooded in from across the solar system. The Imperial fleet had positioned scout ships near every major human settlement, from the Mars colonies to the mining operations in the asteroid belt. In the emergency bunker beneath Geneva, Earth's leaders gathered. The room buzzed with nervous energy as Admiral Walker presented the latest intelligence. "They've conquered 47 civilizations," he explained, pointing to a map of known space. "None lasted more than a week against their fleet. But here's something interesting." He zoomed in on an energy reading from one of the Imperial ships. "Their technology, it's different than we expected." Captain Mary Stone, head of tactical analysis, stepped forward. Her team had been working nonstop since the message arrived. "Their ships use a form of faster-than-light travel we abandoned during our early experiments. It's powerful but crude, like using a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel." The room stirred with whispers. Earth's quantum drive technology was newer, developed after years of careful research. Could it be possible that in at least one area, humanity held an advantage? "They expect us to surrender," Walker continued, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "They've done this 47 times before. Every civilization took one look at their numbers and gave up. But they don't know humans very well, do they?" A smile crossed his face as he looked at the assembled leaders. "We've spent our entire history fighting against impossible odds. From the first time a human looked at a mammoth and decided to take it down with just a spear, to the moment we decided to reach for the stars despite all the challenges. We don't back down." The United Earth President stood up, her expression firm. "Then let's show them exactly what humanity does in the face of tyranny. Admiral Walker, you have full authorization to defend Earth by any means necessary." As Walker left the bunker, his comm unit buzzed. Dr. Wright's face appeared on the small screen, excited despite obvious exhaustion. "Admiral, we found something in their transmission. Their shields. There's a weakness, but we'll need to modify every ship in the fleet." Walker looked up at the night sky, where somewhere beyond the stars, an empire waited to learn that humanity wouldn't go quietly. "Then we better get started," he said. "We've got less than 40 hours to prepare a surprise for our uninvited guests." As the sun rose over Geneva, the underground war room hummed with activity. Screens covered every wall, showing real-time data from Earth's sensor networks. The Imperial ships hadn't moved closer yet, but everyone knew they would soon. Captain Mary Stone rushed into the room, holding a data tablet. Her usual neat appearance was replaced by someone who had clearly worked through the night. "Admiral Walker, you need to see this," she said, her voice excited despite her exhaustion. The Admiral looked up from his tactical display. "Tell me you have good news, Captain." "Better than good," she replied, connecting her tablet to the main screen. "We've finished analyzing their engine signatures. Look at these energy patterns." The display filled with waves of light, showing how the Imperial ships moved through space. Dr. Wright, who had joined them via hologram, nodded in agreement. "It's just as we suspected. They're using brute force to tear through space. Efficient, yes, but also predictable." Walker leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Explain it in simple terms." "Think of it this way," Stone said, drawing on the screen. "They're like a giant hammer smashing through a wall. Our quantum drives are more like finding the tiny cracks and slipping through them. We're smaller, but we're faster. And more importantly, we can go places they can't." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's ships were outnumbered 30-1, but they might have an advantage no one had expected. "How sure are you about this?" Walker asked. "We've triple-checked the data," Stone confirmed. "Their entire fleet uses the same technology. It's standardized across their empire. They probably haven't needed to improve it in centuries because no one has ever beaten them." The meeting was interrupted by a priority message. The Imperial fleet had begun moving, spreading out in a standard attack formation. Their tactics were as predictable as their technology. "They're not even trying to hide their approach," Walker noted. "They're so confident we'll surrender, they don't see the need for strategy." Dr. Wright's hologram flickered as he spoke up. "Admiral, if you give me 6 hours, I think we can modify our quantum drives into something they've never seen before. We won't win in a straight fight, but we don't need to. We just need to show them that humanity isn't as primitive as they think." Walker stood up, walking to the central map table. "You have 4 hours, Doctor. Captain Stone, I want every pilot in simulators practicing the new maneuvers you're developing. If we're going to turn our weakness into strength, everyone needs to be perfect." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Every ship in Earth's fleet received urgent upgrades. Civilian vessels were fitted with electronic warfare systems. Even old satellites were reprogrammed to serve as decoys. In cities across the planet, people gathered in front of screens, waiting for news. Instead of panic, there was a strange calm. Humans had faced extinction-level threats before, from ice ages to asteroids. Each time, they had survived through innovation and determination. The president of the United Earth Federation made a brief speech. "Throughout our history, humanity has been told what we cannot do. They said we couldn't fly. They said we couldn't reach space. They said we couldn't build a better world. Each time, we proved them wrong. Today, an empire tells us we must surrender. And once again, humanity has a simple answer: no." As the deadline approached, Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of his flagship. Earth's fleet was in position, hidden in the quantum shadows where Imperial sensors couldn't reach. They were as ready as they would ever be. "Send our response to the Imperial command," he ordered. The message was brief, transmitted in every known language. "Humanity declines your generous offer. Come and see why." In the darkness of space, Earth's defenders waited, ready to teach an empire about the mistake of underestimating human ingenuity. The orbital shipyards above Earth blazed with activity. Maintenance crews worked in zero gravity, their tools sparking against hull plates as they installed new weapon systems. Time was running out, but human hands moved with practiced speed. Dr. Wright hadn't slept in 36 hours, but his eyes were bright as he explained his discovery to the engineering teams. "The quantum drive doesn't just move our ships," he said, pointing to a holographic diagram. "It can also disrupt space itself. Think of it like throwing rocks in a pond. We can make waves that will knock their ships off course." In Luna Command's main hangar, Captain Stone watched as technicians fitted the new quantum disruptors to fighter squadrons. The devices looked simple, just small boxes attached to the ship's engines, but they represented humanity's best hope for survival. "How many ships are ready?" Admiral Walker asked, floating down from an inspection walkway. 287. Stone replied, checking her tablet. "The last 13 will be done in 3 hours. But sir, there's something else you should see." She led him to a viewing port overlooking Earth. Hundreds of civilian ships were rising from the atmosphere. Cargo vessels, mining ships, even space tourism cruisers. Each one had been fitted with electronic warfare systems and basic shields. "They're all volunteers," Stone explained. "Every civilian pilot who knows how to fly in space. They can't fight directly, but they can confuse Imperial targeting systems." Walker nodded slowly. "How many?" "Over 1,000. The Empire thinks we only have our military fleet. They don't know that every human who can pilot a ship is joining the fight." In the quantum physics lab beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Wright's team made their final breakthrough. The scientist's hands shook with excitement as he called Luna Command. "Admiral, we've done it," he exclaimed. "We found a way to create a cascade effect. When one quantum disruptor fires, it can trigger all the others in range. The more Imperial ships attack us, the stronger our defense becomes." Walker immediately called an emergency meeting of ship commanders. They gathered virtually, their holograms filling the command center as he explained the new strategy. "We'll position our ships in a web formation," he said, displaying the tactical plan. "Each ship supports the others. When the Empire attacks, they'll hit a network of quantum disruption fields that grows stronger with every ship they commit to the fight." A young commander raised her hand. "Sir, won't they see our formation and suspect a trap?" Walker smiled. "They've conquered 47 worlds, Commander. They're not looking for traps anymore. Their arrogance is our greatest advantage." In orbit around Mars, engineering teams converted mining lasers into point defense weapons. Jupiter's colonies sent their atmosphere processors, machines designed to consume gas giants, modified to generate electromagnetic pulses. Even the small scientific outpost on Europa contributed, their deep space radar systems reprogrammed to confuse Imperial targeting computers. Humanity had always been good at turning everyday tools into weapons when needed. As the deadline approached its final hours, Admiral Walker made one last inspection of the fleet. Each ship now carried humanity's latest innovations: quantum disruptors, modified engines, and weapons that had only existed in theory days ago. "Status report," he ordered, standing on his flagship's bridge. "All military vessels armed and in position," Captain Stone reported. "Civilian support fleet standing by. Quantum disruption network is online and stable. Mars defense grid is ready. Jupiter stations report all systems green." Walker looked at the tactical display, showing humanity's forces spread out in their carefully planned web. Each ship was a node in a greater network, ready to turn the Empire's strength against itself. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "The moment the Empire enters our space, Operation Slingshot begins. Today we show them that humanity doesn't just survive. We defy expectations." The crews at their stations straightened with pride. In cities below, humans looked up at the sky, knowing that history was about to be made. Win or lose, the galaxy was about to learn why you should never demand humanity's surrender. Space rippled like water as the Imperial fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. Their ships filled the void between Mars and Earth, massive vessels that made humanity's largest warships look like toys in comparison. The Imperial flagship alone was the size of a small city, its hull decorated with the marks of conquered worlds. In Luna Command's control room, sensor operators watched in stunned silence. The Imperial fleet stretched as far as their instruments could detect. "Count," Admiral Walker asked quietly. "Still counting, sir," a technician replied, his voice shaking slightly. "Over 8,000 ships detected so far. Their smallest vessel is twice the size of our largest." The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. Lord Commander Rex's face appeared, all four of his eyes blinking in that unsettling sequence. He wore a slight smile, the kind a parent might give a stubborn child. "Your time has expired," Rex announced. "I see you have arranged your little fleet in a defensive formation. How quaint. I will give you one final chance to surrender, out of professional courtesy." Walker stood straight, his weathered face showing no fear. "We received your message, Lord Commander. Perhaps you didn't understand our reply. Allow me to clarify." He nodded to Captain Stone, who pressed a button. Across all frequencies, humanity's response began broadcasting. It wasn't a message of surrender. Instead, the Imperial fleet received Earth's greatest speeches about freedom and defiance. Churchill's, "We shall fight on the beaches." Kennedy's, "We choose to go to the moon." Queen Nzinga's resistance against colonizers. Leonidas at Thermopylae. Rex's face darkened with anger. "You dare mock the Empire with historical recordings." "We're teaching you history," Walker replied calmly. "Humanity has faced impossible odds before. It never ends well for the invaders." The Lord Commander cut the transmission. Moments later, 1,000 Imperial warships broke formation, accelerating toward Earth's defensive line. "They're launching their first wave," Captain Stone reported. "Just as predicted, they're sending enough ships to overwhelm any normal defense, but keeping most in reserve to watch their victory." Walker opened a channel to all Earth forces. "All ships, maintain position. Remember your training. Let them come to us." The Imperial ships fired their engines, forming an arrow-shaped formation designed to pierce through Earth's defenses. Their weapon ports opened, charging with enough energy to reduce planets to ash. "They're entering the outer defense grid," Stone announced. 30 seconds to optimal range." Dr. Wright's voice came over the comm from his laboratory. "Quantum network is stable. Every ship is connected. The more energy they use against us, the stronger our disruption field becomes." The first wave of Imperial ships entered firing range. Their weapons blazed, sending beams of energy that could melt mountains toward Earth's seemingly fragile fleet. "Now," Walker commanded. Across the defensive line, humanity's ships activated their quantum disruptors. Space itself seemed to twist and bend. The Imperial energy weapons curved away from their targets, some even turning back on their sources. Several Imperial ships collided, their navigation systems confused by the quantum distortions. "Second phase," Walker ordered. The civilian ships sprang into action, launching electronic warfare attacks that turned the Empire's complex targeting systems against themselves. Mining ships used their industrial lasers to cut through Imperial armor. Research vessels broadcast frequencies that scrambled enemy sensors. In the chaos, humanity's warships began their carefully planned attack runs. They moved through spaces the Imperial ships couldn't see, appearing and disappearing through quantum shadows. Lord Commander Rex's voice boomed across all channels. "What trickery is this? Face us in honorable combat." Walker allowed himself a small smile. "We are facing you in combat, Commander. We're just not doing it your way. Welcome to humanity's version of warfare." The battle for Earth had begun, and the Empire was learning its first lesson about humanity. Never expect them to fight the way you think they should. Captain Stone's fighter squadron dove through the chaos of battle, their smaller ships slipping between the massive Imperial vessels, like fish swimming between sharks. Behind her, 20 of Earth's best pilots followed in perfect formation. "Remember the plan," she transmitted to her team. "Hit their sensor arrays first. Their ships are big, but they're blind without those arrays." The quantum drives on their fighters hummed, letting them appear and disappear almost instantly. To the Imperial ships, it looked like Earth's vessels were teleporting around them. Each time they fired their weapons, the human ships would vanish, only to reappear somewhere else. On the flagship's bridge, Admiral Walker watched the tactical display with intense focus. The Empire's first wave was in complete disarray. Their massive ships, designed to fight in ordered formations, were now getting in each other's way. "Sir," a sensor operator called out, The quantum disruption field is working better than expected. Their weapons are using so much power that they're actually making our defenses stronger. Dr. Wright's voice came through on the command channel. The cascade effect is spreading. Every time they fire those planet-killer weapons, the energy feeds back into our quantum network. Their own attacks are becoming their weakness. The battle wasn't just happening in space. Earth's ground-based defense systems had joined the fight. Massive lasers, hidden in mountain ranges, fired up through gaps in the quantum disruption field. Each shot was precisely timed to hit Imperial ships when their shields were weakened by the quantum effects. Stone's squadron reached their primary target, the Imperial command and control ship. It was enormous, covered in communication arrays that coordinated the enemy fleet's movements. All fighters deploy sonic charges, Stone ordered. The charges weren't traditional explosives. Instead, they released waves of energy that vibrated ships apart at the molecular level, technology developed from Earth's deep-sea research. The Imperial ships finally began to adapt, trying to coordinate their attacks. But every time they gathered in force, civilian ships would appear, broadcasting false sensor data and scrambling their formations. Mining vessels used their industrial cutting beams to slice through Imperial armor like paper. They're bringing in their second wave. Someone shouted in the command center. Walker nodded calmly. Just as planned. Dr. Wright, initiate Phase 3. Around Earth's orbit, hidden satellites activated. Each one generated its own small quantum field, creating a web of disrupted space. As the Imperial reinforcements arrived, they found themselves trapped in zones where their faster-than-light drives couldn't function properly. Lord Commander Rex's voice boomed across all channels, rage evident in his tone. This is impossible. You're nothing but primitives. How are you doing this? The answer came in the form of more human ships emerging from quantum shadows. The civilian fleet had grown. Every space-worthy vessel on Earth had joined the fight. Cargo ships released clouds of metallic dust that stuck to Imperial sensors. Research vessels used their atmospheric sampling tools to superheat enemy hull plates. In his laboratory, Dr. Wright watched his monitors with growing excitement. Admiral, the quantum cascade is reaching critical levels. In about 3 minutes, the energy backlash will disable their entire first wave. Stone's squadron regrouped after their successful attack. The Imperial command ship's sensors were dark, its coordination ability destroyed. Without it, the enemy fleet's movements became sluggish and uncoordinated. All ships, Walker broadcast, execute Operation Avalanche. Show them what happens when humanity fights as one. Earth's defenders moved as a single force, their quantum drives synchronized. The space around the Imperial fleet became a maze of disruption fields, false signals, and deadly traps. Ships that had conquered countless worlds found themselves being taken apart piece by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The battle for Earth wasn't being won with brute force. It was being won with human ingenuity, adaptability, and the determination to remain free. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of Imperial ships. The mighty vessels that had once struck fear across the galaxy now drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by quantum cascade effects. Lord Commander Rex watched from his flagship as his carefully planned attack crumbled into chaos. Impossible, he muttered, all 4 eyes fixed on the tactical display. They were supposed to be primitive, easy to conquer, like all the others. A junior officer approached him nervously. My Lord Commander, we've lost contact with 30% of the fleet. Their systems are completely dead. The humans, they're not fighting like anyone we've ever faced. On the other side of the battle, Admiral Walker received the latest update from Dr. Wright. The scientist's face appeared on the command screen, beaming with excitement. Admiral, the quantum cascade has exceeded all our expectations, Wright reported. Their ships keep pumping more energy into their weapons, not realizing they're just making our disruption field stronger. It's like they're helping us beat them. Walker turned to Captain Stone, who had returned from her successful fighter mission. Time to show them our final card. Begin charging the quantum cascade device. Deep within the moon's secret base, a massive machine powered up. It was humanity's ultimate defensive weapon, developed in the hours since the Imperial ultimatum. The device looked simple, a sphere of quantum processors connected to the largest power plant ever built by human hands. Lord Commander Rex noticed the energy spike. "What are they doing now?" he demanded. "All remaining ships, full attack. Crush them with everything we have." The Imperial ships that could still move formed up for one final assault. Their weapon ports glowed with planet-killing energy, ready to reduce Earth to ash. "They're taking the bait," Stone observed, watching the enemy fleet cluster together. "Just like you predicted, sir. They always resort to brute force when they're desperate." Walker opened a channel to all Earth forces. "All ships, prepare for Protocol Omega. Civilian vessels, retreat to safe distance. Military ships, activate quantum shields." The Imperial fleet fired as one, releasing enough energy to shatter a planet. But humanity was ready. The quantum disruption field caught their attack, channeling all that power directly into the cascade device. Dr. Wright's voice was tense over the comm. "Cascade device at maximum charge. Ready on your command, Admiral." Walker took a deep breath. "Remember what they threatened to do to our world. Remember the 47 civilizations they enslaved." Fire. The cascade device activated. A wave of quantum energy rippled out from the moon, invisible but unstoppable. As it passed through each Imperial ship, their advanced technology simply stopped working. Engines died. Weapons fell silent. Life support systems switched to emergency power. On his flagship's rapidly darkening bridge, Lord Commander Rex finally understood. The humans hadn't just developed a defense against Imperial weapons. They had turned the Empire's own power against itself. "All Imperial vessels," Walker's voice transmitted clearly across space. "Your ships are disabled, but your life support will hold. You have a choice. Surrender, and we'll help you restore minimal power. Continue to fight, and we'll leave you drifting in space." The response came quickly. First one Imperial ship, then dozens, then hundreds began broadcasting surrender signals. The mighty armada that had conquered 47 worlds was helpless before the species they had dismissed as primitive. Captain Stone checked her tactical display. "Sir, Imperial ships at the edge of the system are beginning to retreat. They've seen enough." Walker nodded. "Let them go. Let them tell the Empire what happened here. Let the galaxy know that humanity will not bow to tyrants." The Battle of Earth was over. Humanity had not just survived. They had shattered the myth of Imperial invincibility. And somewhere in the galaxy, 47 conquered civilizations were about to learn that resistance was possible after all. 1 week after the Battle of Earth, Admiral Walker stood at the window of Luna Command, watching crews salvage Imperial ships. The massive vessels that had once seemed so threatening now floated harmlessly in space, their crews being transported to temporary stations on Mars. "Sir," Captain Stone called from behind him. "You need to see this." The command center's main screen showed transmissions from across the galaxy. The news of Earth's victory had spread faster than anyone expected. The Empire's perfect record of conquest was broken, and the aftermath was spreading like wildfire through their territory. 3 more systems have declared independence," Stone reported, highlighting areas on the galactic map. "They're using our quantum disruption technology. Turns out the Empire's ships are just as vulnerable everywhere else as they were here." Dr. Wright joined them via hologram, looking tired but happy. "The quantum cascade blueprints we released are being downloaded across the galaxy. Simple enough for any technically advanced society to build, just like we planned." Walker nodded, remembering their decision to share the defense technology freely. "How are our guests doing?" "The Imperial prisoners are adjusting," Stone answered with a slight smile. "Most of them still can't believe they were defeated by primitives, though some are actually asking to learn about our technology, especially the younger officers." A junior officer rushed into the room. "Admiral, Priority message from the Centauri sector. The screen changed to show an alien face, not Imperial, but one of the conquered species. Its crystalline features glittered as it spoke. People of Earth, the alien said, I am Representative Kyle of the Centauri Liberation Front. Your victory has given us all hope. 300 Imperial ships just surrendered to our forces after we demonstrated our own quantum cascade device. We request formal alliance with Earth. Similar messages have been arriving all week. The Empire, built on fear and overwhelming force, was crumbling as its subjects realized its technology wasn't invincible after all. In orbit, Earth's civilian ships were helping to rebuild damaged stations. The same ingenuity that had turned mining lasers into weapons now turned them back into tools. Research vessels used their sensors to locate survivors in damaged Imperial ships. Latest intelligence report. Stone announced, checking her tablet. 40% of Imperial territory is now in open revolt. Their remaining fleets are stretched too thin to respond everywhere at once. And, she paused, smiling, we're receiving surrender requests from 6 more Imperial battle groups. Dr. Wright's hologram flickered as he added, the quantum physics team is already working on improvements, combining our technology with some of the Imperial systems we captured. The possibilities are incredible. Walker turned from the window. And the Lord Commander? Still requesting an audience with you, Stone replied. He seems to have developed a new respect for primitive species. The Admiral allowed himself a small laugh. Schedule it for tomorrow. I want him to see something first. The next day, Walker took Lord Commander Rex on a tour of Earth's shipyards. The Imperial leader watched in silence as humans worked alongside former Imperial crew members, combining technologies in ways the Empire had never imagined. You could have destroyed us, Rex finally said, his 4 eyes blinking slowly. Why didn't you? Because that's not who we are, Walker replied simply. Humanity doesn't want to conquer. We just want to explore, learn, and stay free. And now, thanks to you, we're helping others do the same. The quantum cascade device had done more than save Earth. It had sparked a revolution of hope across the galaxy. Species that had lived under Imperial rule for generations were standing up, using human ingenuity to break their chains. As Walker looked out at the busy shipyards, he smiled. Humanity's chapter in galactic history was just beginning, and it started not with conquest, but with liberation. The Empire had wanted to add Earth to its collection of conquered worlds. Instead, they had helped humanity take its first steps into a much larger universe. The stars had never seemed brighter.